Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. We're here with GM for Travel Council South Africa, Mladen Lukic, and we're discussing the importance of air access in and out of South Africa. Last week, if you tuned in, we discussed why air access is so vitally important for our economy, and we discussed the changing domestic landscape. Today, we're going to be looking at things from an international perspective. Mladen, thanks so much for joining us again, and maybe we can start off by discussing regional connectivity in and out of South Africa following the easing of our travel regulations.
If you look at historically, there has been a very specific and deliberate allocation of routes and regional and not just regional, but within Africa travel has been jealously guarded by the carriers that held flight rights, because traditionally those were lucrative routes. They are obviously very important from the geopolitical positioning and thinking of South Africa. They are, from the economic point of view, very, very important to us. We certainly see a very big part of overall travel spend within Africa, and we can only hope that is going to increase. I mean, certainly the South African economy is going to need to relook at its supplier and consumer chain. I mean, we are going to be forced to do that by ongoing restrictions, even with development of vaccines and therapeutics. It's not going to be February 2020 overnight. And we are going to have to look to the region. It is a growing region. It's on everybody's radar. All you have to do is to have a look at the competition from Eastern and Middle Eastern carriers into African hubs, because we have a growing youth population that is getting more and more economically active. So our companies are going to have a look at that. We do still need to see what is going to happen with our national carrier and whether they are going to maintain those rules. And that's one of the difficulties, that with kind of freezing of the SAA situation and freezing of the BA Commerce situation, the routes that they held in place have not really been utilized. Business rescue, unfortunately, protects that from happening, and we are now in a situation that we need resolution to both. I understand that Comair process is very much at the end. Over the last couple of days, they have made some announcements that indicate that, and that we should start looking forward to some return by both of the BA Comair and Kalula carriers. But we have no real understanding, other than unwinding of Airlink, what is happening to SAA and SA Express, and they are holders of the biggest chunk of those routes that right now are in a state of limbo, and that is a serious concern. It needs resolution very, very quickly.
Okay, very briefly, any comments on the international air landscape?
Well, right now it is very difficult to really understand strategically what and how the international networks are going to unfold, because there is really a severe restriction of air travel from particularly the traditional partners that we see, mainly Northern Hemisphere, European and United States. We really don't know how quickly they will be able to resolve the current situation, and you know, until that is resolved, or at least until we have some predictable forecast of how that will be resolved, there is going to be uncertainty even with the Gulf carriers, if you look at the amount of traffic that they carry into those regions, is significantly higher than traffic that terminates within the Gulf region or goes or even goes east. So we are in a holding pattern when it comes to that. We have seen a number of carriers that have temporarily removed even the reduced frequencies that they have had. So I am not certain that at this point in time we will be able to really make any predictions. Traditionally, South Africa is very dependent, both in terms of the economic trade and leisure traffic with North Europe, particularly United Kingdom, Germany, France. And that's where we're really looking for some early understanding of how that is going to be developed. I have received some documentation over the last couple of days. IATA is working really hard on providing travel passes that are going to have a smoother acceptance. Depending on which camp you are in, there seems to be equal amount of resistance to the thought of having some kind of additional health-based documentation that will provide for an easy movement of people. And you have the other component, mainly driven by airlines, who are saying that we have to find a way to have a less cumbersome detection of these issues. So that is going to also depend. There is a significantly different approach to domestic and regional movement of people and long distance. When we are looking at certainly domestic and regional, but in our case, certainly from our government point of view, we no longer separate Africa into sub-Saharan and North Africa. There is a desire to look at our continent holistically. The movement of people is going to be promoted, and therefore governments are going to have less restrictive policies in place. Our government, I think, has done a really mature and a positive move to restrict list-based migration, which is really not 21st century kind of thinking, and have moved themselves into a environment where a potential traveler just has to prove a certain level of risk mitigation in order to get onto the traffic, whether they travel from a red listed country or a green listed country. That's not a smart move. So I hope that other countries are going to see that if the airlines get buy-in from various governments for this travel pass or health-based documentation, I think that is going to help realignment of the international, but I don't necessarily believe that is going to impact domestic and regional travel. I think we are beyond that, and we should just see a gradual increase of that.
That's so insightful. Thank you so much. Really, I know you kept saying you should speak to an airline, but I think you have such a broad understanding of the domestic, regional and international landscape. So it really does put things into perspective. So thank you for talking to us and joining one of our webcasts, and we will speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for chatting to me. Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.